Right, so I wanted just to give you a little bit of direction on how to use Google Slides to really enhance your visual display. So to present this museum project, you're going to present it visually using Google Slides, and then you're also going to present it with your voice, which we'll get into in tomorrow's lesson. But today we're focusing on the visual display, the visual presentation. And then today, you are only completing slides 1, 2, and 3. These are the slides that should be finished today. So your first slide will be your title slide. Now, what I would suggest when you click on slide, you can go to apply layout. And you can choose whichever layout you would like to have for your title slide. I chose main point. That's the one that I'm using in the example. But if there's a different type that you would like to do, you can do a different type. So to apply layout. And then to get my picture that you see in the background, you just go to change background. Now you can just do a color if you'd like to do a color, or you can do choose image, which is what I did. If you go over to Google image search, you can just search. So what I did to find mine was I just Googled Harlem Renaissance, and it brought some images up. So you can kind of use whichever one you want to do. You don't have to have an image as a background, but that is a possibility. And you can just choose the one that you like. And then just hit done. Then you'll want to think about your title. Now, honestly, this title is not a very good title, but it's okay. It's got my context, which is the Harlem Renaissance. You also want to make sure you have your theme. Remember, your museum is related to the Harlem Renaissance, but you are focusing on a specific theme. So for example, my theme that I focused on for my example was strength from the past. Now, if you think back to the model that we saw earlier, they had that very creative title of Weathering the Storm. So you could just do a straightforward title like this, Strength from the Past, Collaboration and Community. But if you can, think of something more catchy and more creative, that's good. But your title has to be your theme. Your title has to have your theme in it. Title has to have the theme. Slide number 2 is your curator statement, which you just got finished writing a few minutes ago. So you can just copy and paste this from your exhibit outline. If you want to change the background on this one, you can. I would suggest not doing a picture as the background though. But if you want to change it to a different color, you can change it to a different color, but I would not use a picture. Then you're going to get to your exhibit slide. Now, today you are only completing exhibit number 1, which should be a text, story, or poem from the Harlem Renaissance. So first, I just want to call your attention to a few things, and then I'll show you how to make these. So first, notice I have a title for this particular exhibit. And this exhibit is all about the Negro Speaks of Rivers. So I chose to call this Traveling Down the River with Langston Hughes. Notice how it looks visually. I've got a photograph, I've got a video, I've got a painting. I also used some word art with the word soul. And then next to each item, I have a label. Now, I would encourage you to have at least 2 visual displays of some sort on here. You might do a photograph and word art. And then some of you were a little concerned about the video last time. I chose to use a video for this one because I found a perfect video. I found Langston Hughes reading aloud the poem, which is a perfect thing for me to put on this slide. But you do not have to have a video. That is an option, not a requirement. All right? So you can kind of think about what visual displays you'd like to use. Also, I want to call your attention to the labels. Your labels can't be too long because people have to be able to read them when they're looking at your museum, but they do need to connect back to your theme. So, for example, underneath this picture of Langston Hughes, I wrote, Langston Hughes used his talents to reflect the strengths of Black Americans. That connects back to my theme, strength from the past. Then my label for the video, I wrote, the Negro Speaks of Rivers explains the speaker's connections to the past through the use of figurative language. Remember, my theme is strength from the past. So with every one of these labels, I need to kind of explain how it connects back to the theme. Pictured here is the Mississippi River, one of the rivers important to Black American history and featured in Hughes's poem. Hughes used the rivers as metaphors for the connections to the past. So notice this museum exhibit is not about Langston Hughes. This museum exhibit is about the Negro Speaks of Rivers. So each one of my labels connects back to that. So be mindful about that when you're creating your exhibit slides. Make sure it's focused on the text and the theme. Text and theme, text and theme. Focused on the text, focused on the theme, each exhibit. Okay? So now let's get into how to use some of these tools. So what I would suggest is on your museum exhibit slide, I would suggest changing the layout to blank because then you really do have a blank canvas. First, you want to take off what I put up here for you and replace that with whatever title you would like to have for the exhibit. Right? Then you'll want to start putting in your items. Let's say, for example, you want to do an image. Go to Insert, Image, search the web. You can search Google right here on Google Slides, find an image that you like and put it in. But remember, text and theme. Is it related to the text? Is it related to the theme? Text and theme, text and theme. You also can do Insert, Video, and again, you can search right here within Google Slides. If you'd like to do word art, you would go to Insert, Word Art. You would type whichever word you'd like to have your word art say. And then you can go to Format, Format Options. And then you can kind of play around with how big you want it to be. If you want it to be different colors, just like you would with anything else, you go up here. You can also do background colors if you'd like to, okay? So just kind of play around with that. When it comes time for your labels, take this off. Let me just throw myself a picture in here so y'all can see it. When it comes time for your labels, you go to Insert Text Box. Insert Text Box. You draw your label wherever you want it to be. You type your label. And then on the example, you'll see how I have these lines around my labels, which makes it very easy to see. If you want to use lines like that, you use these up here. These are called borders. You can make it as small or as big as you want it to. You also can do dashes if you'd rather do dashes, a solid line, right? Okay, and then you can kind of see your label better. And you can put your labels wherever you want them to go. Okay. You also can change your background. I would suggest not doing a picture as your background because that's going to be too hard to see. But if you want to make your background a different color, you can make your background a different color and see how it looks. I encourage you just to kind of play around with this. And again, you are only doing exhibit number 1 today. You're only doing exhibit number 1. And remember, whatever you put on your exhibit has to be related to your text and your theme. So for example, my text is The Negro Speaks of Rivers. My theme is Strength from the Past. So everything I put on this slide related to the text and the theme, text and theme. That's what you want it to be related to. I look forward to seeing what you create. Thanks.